Hello everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. Now let's start with today's topic. In the previous episode, I shared with you guys about the importance of the meaning of life, which is the why, and I also said that sometimes it is thanks to difficult circumstances like during the recent pandemic when we are forced to stop. This is also a good opportunity for us to review what we had to start new beginnings. Now we understand the importance of having what is the meaning of life. We also have the opportunity to review everything, but how to review and where to start and how to do it is also the reason why I continue to do it. In today's episode, I will share with you a method that I believe will help you a lot in finding the meaning of your life. Called Ikigai, this is a Japanese method. More specifically, it comes from the islands located in the south of Japan called Okinawa. This is the place where people have the highest life expectancy in the world. In Japanese, Iki means life and Gai means motto or meaning. It can be understood that Ikigai is the meaning of life, a phrase that we learned together in the previous episode. Before I continue, I have a few small notes because today's episode has quite a lot of illustrations, so if it's convenient, you should watch it on YouTube. It will be easier to visualize than listening to it on YouTube. Audio. In addition, today's episode is a bit long, so I will put the table of contents of the time frames in the description for your convenience, and now we start to learn about Ikigai. First, to understand Ikigai, we must know about a concept called flow. Flow means flow. This is a state when we are so immersed in what we do that we no longer need to know anything about our surroundings. And I believe that more or less of you have experienced that feeling, when you're doing something you love so much and you're so focused that you get used to everything that's going on. Being around, I forget to eat and drink. I even forget how quickly time is passing by. That is the state of flow, and for me, every day I immerse myself in flow is a good day, which I call a successful day. And the Ikigai method will help us have a more specific and clearer framework so that we can easily determine which activities are most suitable for our abilities and qualities from which we can get there. The most complete flow. Now let's begin to learn more about this Ikigai method. Ikigai is the intersection of the first four factors. The things you are good at, next are the things you love, then the third is the work that creates value for society, and finally, it can create money for our lives. First, let's talk about the aspects that we are good at. Now, try to imagine that if you are good at something, it is a scale from 1 to 10. 1 would be very bad and 10 will be extremely good. There will be two factors that determine whether we are good at a certain field. First is that we can improve ourselves, and with this way we can reach the score is about 7 points or try very hard to reach the 8-point mark. But to reach the 9 or 10-point mark, in addition to hard practice, we must also have one more factor: talent. The easiest example to imagine is that in order for a singer to sing well, he or she must go to vocal classes plus practice hard to get from being a bad singer. As we practice, we begin to master more about music theory, rhythm, and other vocal techniques. Then we will certainly be able to sing at a level from listenable to good. But to be able to sing excellently at a level where every time I raise my voice everyone is lost in emotion, these are the remaining 2 points. It is an innate talent. Those talents take the form of a gifted singing voice or some kind of natural ability to perceive sound. In addition to helping us reach the 9 to 10-point mark, it will also help us learn and practice faster than other normal people. And we have many types of such talents, from intellectual aptitude, intelligence to physical aptitude or the aptitude for controlling a vehicle such as racing cars, for example, or the talent of singing as in the previous example. And there will be many different types of talent. And similar to the example of singing talent, as I said earlier, if you develop in the right environment for your talent, you will develop very quickly, faster than others. And more importantly, we can develop to heights that normal people, no matter how much they practice, find it very difficult to reach. But there is also a very unfortunate reality. Although there are countless different types of giftedness, currently in educational programs people only focus on a few types of giftedness. Among them, the most common is intellectual aptitude, while physical aptitude and skills have not been exploited effectively by educational programs. Let's imagine that suppose we have a certain child. He has a talent for racing, for example, and is not good at intellectual abilities, but due to such an educational program, all day long I try to learn calculus or spatial geometry. Surely you will have a hard time and the results will be no matter what. This is just like when we catch a fish and ask it to climb a tree. it will forever think it is a failure instead of releasing it into the water, and it will surely shine. This is also a small note for those of you with young children. Because the educational program has such limitations, as parents we compensate for those shortcomings by having activities for our children to discover their talents early. Then find a way to balance them so they can swim in their own environment instead of forcing them to follow their learning results in school. Because maybe we have an orca in the house, then we should focus on improving its swimming abilities and not care too much about its tree climbing results. What? Even with us adults, if we keep doing something we're not good at, we have to be careful that we're like a fish that keeps trying to climb a tree. Here is a big topic that we will discuss in another episode now. If we talk too deeply, it will lose our topic of Ikigai. The second aspect is what we like to do. This aspect is easy for us to determine because we certainly know what things we like or what things we don't like. When we look a little deeper, we will see that it is not simple. Firstly, because we only know whether we like or dislike something when we have experienced it long enough. Deep. As for this aspect, I have shared quite thoroughly in a previous episode. I will leave the link below the description so that those who have not seen it can watch it again. The second thing is that usually there is no such thing as a pure job. There is only one job. For example, from the job I am doing, consulting for companies is a job that I really like and I like it. It's done quite well, but there are still elements in it that I don't like, such as paperwork and legal procedures or having to deal with polytech issues that any business needs. Every great karma has one. Therefore, we must know that any job has aspects that we do not like. However, if almost all aspects of the job you're doing are things you don't like, then that's a different story. Especially when you keep working and still don't see any progress in terms of ability or promotion. That is a very important signal to pay attention to. This is the time we have to seriously sit down and think about it. Reconsider whether that job is suitable for your personality and abilities or not. The third thing is whether the job creates income for us or not. Those of you who have followed my podcast before, you also know that we must have enough money to be able to control money. Otherwise we will forever be controlled by it. Therefore, the aspect of money is always an important aspect in anything we do. If we have other factors that do not have this element of money, then the activities we do, I'm doing it just for fun. And finally, whether it creates value for society or not. I also talk a lot about this aspect and you can review it in previous episodes. This is an important concept because without it, we will not have a complete sense of happiness, but luckily in almost all the work we do today, it more or less creates value. Certain for society. The key thing here is how much value it creates for the surrounding area, going back to my personal case. So my old job will definitely create some value for the companies I work for, and from there, the companies will create value for society. So look at it from one perspective. Somehow I am still creating value for society. But there comes a time when we will naturally want to create more value, as I said in some previous episodes, when we want to find a higher level of happiness and to reach new things. At this higher level, we must find ways to raise the values in this aspect, which are the 4 basic elements that make up Ikigai. Now we go one step deeper to analyze what it will create when these elements meet. The first is that we do what we like to do and we do it. If you are good at those things, when these 2 elements combine together, it will create something that people often talk about, which is passion. However, only passion, and that passion alone does not create value for society, is not enough to create Ikigai because those can be useless passions. For example, you may like to play the game and you guys are very good at playing the game. It means that you have a passion for playing games, which in most cases does not create much value for society. Of course, I know that there are esports tournaments in the world and other events. The value it creates is entertainment activities for viewers, which in turn creates opportunities for advertising businesses. But we are talking about extreme cases of peak gaming activities. As for the vast majority of people who play games for entertainment, those passions do not bring much value to society. Besides, they also do not create money for us. In most cases, it also costs money, which is why passion alone is not enough. The second is that we do something that you like to do and that society needs. When these 2 elements combine together, we will create something called a mission. But similar to passion, mission alone is not enough, because you may not be good at it, and because you are not good, you may not make money from those activities. An example that I can think of is that you may love singing and obviously that activity is needed by society, but every time you raise your voice to sing, the entire crowd is sure to disperse. Surely no one will pay to listen to you sing. Third, if you can do things that society needs and make money from it, we will have a concept called a certain profession. In this case, we have countless examples with many people who are doing things like that. Things that you don't like doing, and because you don't like it, you're not very good at it, but society needs us to do it so we can make money from it. This is also the case that I mentioned in previous episodes about people who have to go to the company every day to do things they don't like and are not good at for just one purpose. The only thing is to make money, so it only has two factors. These two factors alone are not enough to create Ikigai. And finally, when we do things we are good at and make money, then we have something called expertise, and you can guess that if we have expertise, that expertise is something, but if society doesn't need it, it's not good. A funny example is robbery. For example, there are people who clearly have very professional robbery skills and obviously it creates money for them, but certainly no one in society needs to eat. Robbers, and deep inside those people, they have no desire to rob. If there is a choice to do something else, not many people choose that specialty. Normally, in Ikigai lessons, people will stop here, but if we have already figured it out, we should fully understand the basics, so now I want to share with you the deeper level. Moreover, when we have three elements combined together, or in other words, out of those four elements we only lack one element, what will it look like? First of all, when we do things that we are good at, that we like, and that work makes money, we only lack one factor. Society does not need what we do. The example we can think of is multi-level sellers. They're clearly good at what they do and they're clearly making money, especially those at the top, and it seems like they like what they're doing. Of course, not all pyramid schemes are bad, but most multi-level activities are deformed models and they create many negative aspects for society, so in these cases, society does not need this type of work. Cannot last long. The second is that we are good enough at something we like to do and society needs it, but it does not make money for us. In this case, I can immediately think of an example, that people musician or poor painter. Obviously, they really like what they do and they do it very well. Society also appreciates what they do, but when they lack money, their lives must always be in a state of poverty. Lacking, and in many cases, this lack of money forces them to do things that they do not want or do not like that meet their basic living needs, and from there they take gradually the time passes so that they can live with their passions. This is also the reason I often say how to escape the influence of money so that we can live life completely according to our wishes. If you want to learn more about this aspect in detail, you can review the Financial Freedom episode 1 shared in detail in the previous episode. Next, we have a scenario where we do things that society needs that make money and we like to do it but we're not good at it. A while ago, when I was learning about Ikigai, I often thought about this paragraph, because at that time I wasn't sure if there was such a thing or not. I'm not good at it or not because I think that when I like something, I'll definitely take the time to learn how to improve it and obviously I'll be good at it. But later on, at first I paid attention and I gradually realized that there was such a case, and it was not far away from the employees in the companies I had worked for before. There are some things that you can't develop even though the company has created a lot of conditions to train you, and there are even cases where I directly guide you, but at some point I have to ask straight with you. You have to seriously consider whether you really like this job or not. After that, when they came back, they considered it very carefully and they confirmed with me that they really liked that job, and to be honest, I didn't understand why that was so, but there were really some things. Such cases are outside. In these cases, I pity more than I blame because they really like what they do and they also try to develop, not just their abilities, they only develop to a certain level of emotional comfort. In this case, you will feel very excited and satisfied because you are doing what you like to do. You're creating value for the surrounding people. And those things create money for ourselves, but at the same time there is a feeling of uncertainty and doubt about ourselves, and it is certainly not a feeling that we can go on for a long time. In the end, it is the case that we do things that society needs us to make money and we are good at it, but it is not something we like to do, and again, we see a lot of these cases in the office environment of companies. After a period of time that you don't like, you will become proficient and that job will generate income for you. Even high income if you do it long enough, and obviously you are good at it. Do you create value for society through the things you do? But deep inside you know that you don't like those things, and this is the most difficult case to escape, because in these cases, we will have a comfortable feeling of safety in our comfort zone. Because I'm doing something I'm familiar with and it's making enough money to support myself, but deep inside there's a feeling of emptiness, a feeling of doubt that I'm wasting my time. Our children just in exchange for money, and if we look around a little closely, we will see that this is a very common situation, not a special one. Through the recent analysis, we see that among these 4 elements, we cannot lack any of them. Only when we have all 4 elements can we have Ikigai, the job we do. Good is also a job that we love, it creates value for society, and it can create income for ourselves from those 4 factors. It gives us a big enough passion and an expertise. Deep enough, from there we have a solid career, and that career is valuable enough to become the mission for us to pursue. That is Ikigai, and Ikigai will lead us to a state of flow, those days when we are immersed in work to the point where we forget everything around us, forget the time, even forget to eat and drink and still be full. The energy of such days is the successful days in the articles I mentioned before, and a successful life is, after all, just a real life with many successful days. But those simple things are the foundations that bring us so much of immense value. Anyone who has ever been in a state of flow knows that when we are in that state, we will work much more effectively than usual, and the important thing is that as long as we work, we will still feel interested and not tired, and if we continuously work in such a state, we will definitely, as success will come to us. That is definitely something that cannot be discussed, because at this time, no matter how difficult or strenuous the work is, we are always in a very gentle and comfortable state, not trying hard. No matter how hard or difficult it is, at that point, work is no longer an obligation but becomes a pleasure. Sometimes I even think I'm willing to pay to get that feeling. I feel like that, let alone what people pay me to do. I don't think I'm particularly successful or particularly rich, but thanks to me finding my Ikigai, it has made my life much more fulfilling. I share these things with you with no wish other than that one day you will also have the same feelings. But like anything in life, to get good fruit, it requires us to have days of hard work and to change the things we currently have in order to move on. Finding true meaning for your life is the same. It is not a story of day 1, day 2, but any long journey needs the first steps, and this journey is the same. You can start with the simplest journeys, which is to try taking out paper and pen. To start writing down what you like, what you are good at, what creates value for society, and what creates income for yourself. Write down without thinking in your head. Because only when we write it down do we have the opportunity to think and contemplate more deeply, and from there it is like a map that gives us more motivation to act. I would like to end this episode here. If you find this content useful, please share it with your friends and relatives. In addition, YouTube's algorithm prioritizes videos. There are many likes, so if you like this video, please click on the like button to help more people know about our podcast. Thank you for watching and wish you all have a happy day with relatives and family.